From the darkness of the ocean a shadow rose, a colossal figure made of stone, foam, and thunder. For centuries, sailors whispered of the ocean's mysteries, of seas that boiled under a merciless sun, of serpents rising from the deep, of ghostly fires dancing on the masts in storms. The fire of St. Elmo, omen of doom or a sign of divine mercy. The ocean was not just water. It was fear given form. His name was Adamastor, the voice of fear itself, the face of the unknown, guardian of the world's edge, where the Atlantic breaks in fury against Africa. There at the Cape of Storms, the sailors heard more than wind and waves. They heard the cry of the abyss itself. From the lines of Camoys, a giant rose from the sea's depths, and before the fleet of Vasco da Gama he stood vast and unyielding. With a harsh voice and a twisted form, he tells his sorrow, his fate. Son of the earth, condemned to exile, he dared to love Thetis, goddess of the sea. But in the moment of embrace he found only mist and mockery. Humiliated, he was turned into rock and storm, sentenced to guard the world's edge. And there, before the Portuguese, he wept. His tears became ocean, his words prophecies of shipwreck, his voice thunder echoing through the night. You shall not pass without torment, he warned, as he raised walls of water against fragile sails. Adamastor was more than a monster. He was the very essence of human fear, the symbol of uncertainty and the terror of the unknown. But the Portuguese did not turn back. For centuries, the map had ended at Cape Bojador, where men spoke of monsters, of abysses, of fire. But in 1434, Gil Eanes broke that fear. He sailed beyond the dreaded cape and found only sea, horizon, and wind. Imagination painted horrors beyond the limit. And yet, with skill and with faith, the sailors dared to go further. In 1488, Bartolomeu Dias broke the ban. Before the fury of the winds, he rounded the edge of the continent. He called it the Cape of Storms. For there, the sea itself seemed to have a voice. But it was King John II of Portugal who looked beyond the terror. He saw in that same cape not doom but promise. And so the Cape of Storms became the Cape of Good Hope, a name of destiny, a gateway to the Indies. To those who sailed with him, the fury of the winds was like the breath of the giant himself. It was as if the ocean itself had become the giant's voice and fury. Yet in facing that terror, the Portuguese proved that courage could bend even the will of myth. Almost a decade later, in 1497, Vasco da Gama faced the same back of stone and water. Where myth had promised death, he found a path. Through storms and through fear, he opened the way to India, the beginning of an empire. Adamastor in the Lusiads, not only the foe but the witness. Fear gave greatness to courage, and courage turned fear into memory. Myth gave voice to terror. History gave body to the deed. But the giant did not die in the poet's pages. Through the centuries, he returned in echoes and in verses. Bocas saw his prophecies in broken keels. To Fernando Pessoa, he became the guardian of the abyss, the one who asked mankind, "Who are you?" In Saramago's words, the legend lived once more, giving him flesh of memory, a human face, tragic and eternal. Across Europe his memory spread, where Voltaire, Victor Hugo, and Alexander Dumas kept his image alive. For them he was the echo of Portugal's epic courage, the image of a daring spirit that defied the infinite. And in Lisbon, at the Miradouro de Santa Catarina, a stone face rises above the Tagus, watching the sea as if still guarding the path of sailors. Even science remembers him. A dinosaur unearthed in Angola. They called it Angola Teton Adamastor, a fossil memory of a maritime myth. Adamastor was never gone. He never lived, and yet he endures. He is fear given voice, the limit made into flesh, the omen that follows all who dare the impossible. And yet he is also a mirror. He shows not only terror but courage. He was witness to the passage that turned the Cape of Storms into the Cape of Good Hope, to the daring that made seas into pathways, and to the faith that wrote history. The greatest monsters are born within us, and only courage can defeat them. And perhaps that is why Adamastor still speaks to us today. For every age has its own oceans to cross, its own giants to face. He reminds us that the unknown will always inspire fear, but also that courage can overcome it. Adamastor was the voice of fear, Portugal the courage that answered.